Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, we're reacting to another Necrit video. It's called The Blade of Millennia. Alright, let's go. I do not have options on this, and I don't know why. Here we go. Alright, Necrit.
Hello everyone and welcome! The story of Kayn got released,
Kayn.
and although it didn't reveal too much information about the Darkin, it is an important piece of the story.
Now, I just reacted
keep
to
in mind
Kayn.
that
He
the
looks really
history of
cool.
the Darkin is still on its way.
He's a
so
ninja,
more stories are coming.
right?
But for now, let's have a look at the story of Kayn.
And he has a Darkin weapon. But he's
Born
able
in
to
Noxus,
control it.
Kayn and
So
the
I think
others
that's really
like
cool.
him were raised to be child soldiers. A cruel practice employed only by the most devious commanders of the Empire. Ionian compassion was a weakness to be exploited. Their warriors would hesitate before striking down a supposed innocent. Even though he was barely able to lift the blade he had been given, Kayn's first day in the battle was also expected to be his last. The Noxian forces landed in the mouth of the Epool River. Kayn and the others hesitated, facing disorganized bands of locals defending their homes from these returning invaders. While his young comrades were cut down or fled the battlefield, Kayn showed no fear. He dropped his heavy sword and snatched up a fallen sickle, turning to face the shocked Ionians as the Noxian regulars swept in from the flank. The carnage was staggering. Farmers, hunters, and even a handful of Vastaya, all were butchered without ceremony. 2 days later, after word had spread through the southern territories, the Order of Shadow came upon the horrific scene. Their leader Zed knew this area had no tactical significance. This massacre was intended to be a message. Noxus would show no mercy. A flickering glint of steel caught his eye. A child not older than 10 was laying in the mud, leveling his broken sickle at the master assassin, bloody knuckles straining white. The boy's eyes showed pain unbearable at his age, yet still burned with the fury of a hardened warrior. His tenacity was something that could not be taught. Zed saw in this child, this abandoned Noxian survivor, a weapon that could be turned against those who had sent him here to die. The assassin held out his hand and welcomed Kayn into the Order of the Shadow. Acolytes traditionally spent years training with a single weapon of their choosing, but Kayn mastered them all. To him, they were mere tools, and he was the weapon. Armor he viewed as a burden, instead cloaking himself in shadows and slaying enemies with quickness and stealth. These swift executions instilled fear in the hearts of those fortunate enough to be spared. And as Kayn's legend grew, so did his arrogance. He truly believed that one day his power would eclipse even that of Zed himself. This hubris led Kayn to embrace his final test, to seek out a Darkin weapon recently unearthed in Noxus, and prevent it being used against the wary defenders of Ionia. He accepted without hesitation, never questioning why he had been chosen for the task. Indeed, where any other acolyte would have destroyed the living scythe known as Rhaast, Kayn took it for himself. The corruption took hold the moment his fingers closed around the weapon.
I was always wondering how he was able to get a hold of that scythe. Since it's a Darkin weapon. Is it just... Okay, are the Darkin weapons just laid out everywhere, or are they in like a safe place where people can't really get to them? I don't know.
Weapon, locking them both in a fateful struggle. Rhaast has long awaited the perfect host in order to join its Darkin brethren and lay waste to the world. But Kayn will not be easily dominated. He returns to Ionia in triumph, convinced that Zed will name him the new leader of the Order of the Shadow. The following story expands how exactly Kayn got hold of Rhaast. Kayn stood confidently in the shadow of the noxtra, surrounded by dead soldiers, and smiled at the irony. These triumphal arches of dark stone were raised to honor the strength of Noxus, to instill fear in all who passed beneath them. Now, this one was a tombstone, a monument to false strength and arrogance, and a symbol of the fallen warrior's own fear turned against them. Kayn relished fear. He counted on it. It was a weapon, and as his brothers in the Order of the Shadow had mastered their katana or their shuriken, Kayn had mastered fear. But as he felt Noxian soil beneath him for the first time in years, amid the enemy soldiers slain and soon to be forgotten, there was an unease. It hung in the air like a pressure before a storm, begging to be released. Nakuri, Kayn's fellow acolyte of the Order, reversed the grip on his blade and prepared for a more personal fight. To his credit, he almost managed to hide the tremor in his voice. "What's it going to be, brother?" Kayn said nothing. His hands rested empty at his sides. He knew he was in control. Even so, he felt a flickering sense of déjà vu, like something out of a dream. It came in a flash and then was gone. A voice rose from the empty space between them. A dark and hateful voice that echoed with the pained cries of 1,000 battlefields, daring each of them to act.
"Who will prove worthy?"
Okay, wait. So, after he had got done beating up all the Noxans, his teammate turned against him? Did I get that right? Did I understand that? Hold on.
In his voice. "What's it going to be, brother?" To his credit, Kuri, Kayn's fellow acolyte of the Order, reversed the grip on his blade and prepared for a more personal fight.
So it was
to
his teammate.
Credit, he almost managed to hide the tremor in his voice. Déjà
okay.
Vu, like something out of a dream.
Okay, I'm
it
sorry.
Came in a flash and then was gone. A voice
so his
rose
teammate
from
turned
the empty
against
space
him.
Between them. A dark and hateful voice that echoed with the pained cries of 1,000 battlefields, daring each of them to act.
"Who will prove worthy?"
Zed had summoned his greatest student. Spies of the Order had confirmed the rumors. The hated Noxians had discovered an ancient scythe of Darkin origin, as powerful as any magic in Ionia. A single eye of crimson hate stared out from the heel of the blade, tempting the strongest of men to wield it in battle. Evidently none had proven to be worthy.
Oh, so the scythe did that.
Were quickly and painfully consumed by its malevolence. So it had been wrapped by chainmail and sackcloth and secured by a guarded caravan bound for the immortal bastion. Shida Kayn knew what would be asked of him. This would be his final test. He had reached the outskirts of the coastal city of Vindor before he ever considered the journey's significance. Taking the fight to the enemy in their own land was audacious, but so was Kayn. There was no other who could match his talents, none to whom Zed would entrust the fate of Ionia, and so there could be no doubt. Kayn was destined for greatness. He set his trap shortly before sunset. The approaching caravan was just visible in the distance, as dust raced into the orange sky. More than enough time to dispatch the 3 guardians at the noxtra. He moved in silence across the archway's shadow as the first guard paced out for a patrol. Kayn summoned his shadow magic and stepped into the black stone wall as if there was a passage open only to him. He could see the guards in silhouette, grasping their pikes tightly with both hands. He lunged from the wall, cloaked in shadow, and snuffed the life from the second guard with his bare hands. Before the third could even react, Kayn dissolved into tendrils of pure darkness and darted across the cobbled road, reforming in front of his victim. In a flash, he wrenched the man's head around, snapping his neck with ease.
Jeez.
The first guard heard the bodies fall, lifeless and limp, and turned toward Kayn. The assassin smiled, taking time to relish the moment.
"It paralyzes, does it not?"
He hissed, slipping into the shade of the noxtra once more.
Is that his voice?
"The fear."
He rose from the quaking soldier's own shadow.
"This is the part where you run, Noxian. Tell others what you witnessed here."
The soldier threw down his spike and sprinted away. He didn't get far. Clad in robes as dark as Kayn's, Nakuri leapt from behind the noxtra and plunged his katana into the belly of the fleeing soldier. The other acolyte locked eyes with Kayn. The vaunted strength of Noxus. Such delusion.
"I knew you were impetuous, brother,"
Kayn spat.
"But following me all this way, hoping to share in my glory.
There was no time for further conversation. They could hear the caravan of soldiers approaching.
Get out of sight, Nakuri. I will deal with you later, if you survive.
The long shadows of twilight hid the bodies until the approaching soldiers were almost
I'm guessing so
beneath
his
the Grand
teammates
Arc.
don't like each other.
Hold! The first outrider cried, drawing his sword. Fan out, now! Confusion set in among the others as they left their horses, and for the first time, Kayn laid eyes on their cargo. It was just as Zed had described, wrapped in chainmail and sackcloth and strapped to the back of a sturdy Vindoran steed. Patience was a virtue that Nakuri did not possess, and he heedlessly dove for the nearest soldier. Kayn always selected his targets carefully, and so struck with precision at the lead outrider, felling him with his own sword. He turned again to the Vindoran, but the scythe was gone. He had come too far to fail. Kayn! Nakuri yelled as he cut down one soldier after another. Behind you! A desperate Noxian had freed the weapon, its red eye now revealed and glowing with inhuman rage. The soldier's own eyes grew wide as he swung it viciously in arcs at his own comrades. He was clearly not in control, trying in vain to release the scythe. The rumors were true. Calling again on his shadow magic, Kayn dove into the writhing Noxian's darkened corrupted flesh. For the briefest of moments, he saw through the eye of this ageless being, witnessing millennia of inflicted pain and suffering, screams and lamentations. This thing was death reborn again and again. It was the purest evil and it had to be stopped. He burst from what was left of the Noxian, the soldier's flesh having warped into scales of hardened stone that shattered into black shards and choking dust. All that remained was the scythe, its eye now closed. Kayn reached for it as Nakuri dispatched the last of their enemies. Brother, stop! The acolyte cried, flicking blood from his katana. What are you doing? You saw what it can do. It must be destroyed.
Yeah, he's not gonna do that.
No,
It is mine.
it is mine.
The two of them drew up, neither willing to back down. Beyond the city boundaries, warning bells began to toll.
Oh, he's gonna
The
kill that
moments
dude,
seemed to
isn't he?
stretch out. Nakuri reversed the grip on his blade. What's it going to be, brother?
I see
The
what
scythe
happened.
spoke to Kayn then. It seemed as if it was echoing in his mind, and yet the other acolyte's widening eyes showed that he had heard it too.
Who will prove worthy?
Okay, so I was confused. I thought this happened before, and I wasn't sure what was going on. Okay, so the scythe, his brother wants to destroy the scythe. Kayn wants to keep it, and they're fighting because of that. That makes sense.
Kayn
Okay,
conjured
I
fingers of
apologize.
darkness that snatched up the weapon, lifting it into the night and spinning it into his waiting hands. It felt like a part of him, like it had always been part of him, as if he alone was born to wield it. He spun it with a comfortable flourish and leveled the blade toward Nakuri's throat.
Do what you must.
And that was the story of Kayn. I noticed that some people bash this story on the internet, and I really wanted to address it because they bashed it for the wrong reasons.
Why did they bash it?
Kayn is a character that is meant to be seemingly cool, arrogant, and edgy.
Yeah.
League of Legends didn't have a character with these attributes before, so with Kayn, Riot filled these characteristics whole. If you feel like Kayn is too edgy and too much inspired by anime, that is because he was meant to be.
Yeah.
It was even
I didn't
confirmed that
feel like-
Sasuke was one of the inspirations for him.
Oh,
As far
okay.
as Rhaast goes, there will be some stories in the future explaining him and the other Darkin as well. A little bird told me that the Darkin history may arrive later this year. So don't
still gotta
worry,
watch that.
this is not all the lore we get. Also, if you look at Kayn's related champions, you can notice Aatrox and Zed, both of which could get a story update soon, but you can also notice Darius. So Kayn may be a segue to the story of Noxus, since Urgot is on his way too. But that's all I got for you today. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to rate it and subscribe for more stories in the future. You can also
That was
follow
cool.
us on
I don't
Twitter,
know why
Facebook,
the
and
internet doesn't like
Discord
Kayn
if
that
you'd
much.
like
I
to
think he's a
chat.
very cool
Special
character.
shout outs to our Patreons.
Alright guys, so that was my reaction to Necrit explaining about Kayn to me. And I apologize I got confused at the beginning, but yeah, I like him. He's a cool character. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below, and if you're new, please like, subscribe, and the bell for notification. Thank you all so much for watching. You have a good day, good night, bye-bye.